Rhythm of the Universe Ionia landed on Quest, PCVR and PSVR last week. Here's our review straight from the VR Gamescast.
I think this game has real heart and soul, and I think its heart is really in the right place. It's a pro-environment kind of vibe of a game, like set on this kind of alien forest. You play as one of these two siblings that are these kind of like weird kind of looking leafy funky people. If you're I didn't think the design would be seen as cup of tea, and that's just been confirmed. On the screen you can see kind of your hand here. You have like this kind of furrish hand, and this is your sister who has kind of leaves on her face and stuff. And it's, you know, I said in my review that's on the site right now, it's like Fern Gully just without Robin Williams voicing a bat. You go through the jungle, you meet some really fantastic creatures, and you solve some puzzles. And I think it's lovely and original. And like I said, it's got all the goodwill and good intentions in the world. I loved meeting some of these larger-than-life wildlife designs. I think the developer Rotu has put real thought into its world, and I think it's very clearly passionate, not just about the universe it's created, but also, you know, the medium of VR. And I said in my review that it's like a launch window VR game in that it's just so clearly in love with VR that it's like, hey, look at these beasts flying past you, and look at this lovely vista, and, you know, you can climb this, and oh, isn't it great to be here? Me saying it's gorgeous and lovely and detailed and everything like that, I've only played it on PC so far, but it's also out on Quest and PSVR today, and I haven't tried the Quest and the PSVR versions. I have seen a screenshot of the Quest version, and I was like, ooh, maybe I should point out in the review that I've only played it on PC. Like I said, it's a project of tremendous goodwill, and it really has a real warmth to it, which is why it is just such a shame that even as an episodic game, to kind of cushion this blow, it just doesn't work that the game is about 45 minutes long and is going to cost about $15. And in that 45 minutes, a significant chunk of it is just watching other characters talk or movies or anything like that, roughly around a third. So we're talking maybe about half an hour's worth of gameplay in the entire experience. It's one of those difficult things where you could then go back to like Battlescar and say, well, that's only half an hour. Why does that get off the hook? And it's like, well, this really is pitching itself as a game. It says, you know, multiple times in the Steam description, it's a game. There's puzzles and everything like that. And even if you were to look at it the other way more favorably and say, no, it's actually more of an experience and that length is okay, it still doesn't explore enough of the mechanics and the storytelling to do something really, really interesting. And that's a real shame given everything they've built, because the puzzles are ridiculously easy and didn't even cause a moment's distraction in my brain. I like completely cut through them. It's got this kind of like cool musical undercurrent where if you touch a lot of the vegetation in the world, they'll give off like drum beats or something like that. But, you know, you might, if you don't go exploring, you won't even really be aware of that element of the game and the ways it's trying to entice you to spend a little longer in its environments. And then there's like the prime example is this giant tortoise, and your sister is like, oh, it might let us ride on its back if you stare it in the eyes for long enough and bow for long enough and just stay completely still. It might accept us and allow us to ride on its back. And you think, wow, that's kind of an interesting, cool way to interact with wildlife. It's not your traditional game mechanic, but it's definitely taking VR and thinking about really interesting ways to interact with worlds and, you know, getting your hands muddy with this wildlife, right? But then the story, actually, you're just kind of a special kid that doesn't need to do the bowing in the eyes, and he just lets you pass straight away. And you're like, you were just hitting on something really, really interesting there. And the whole quest is that you're heading into the forest to kind of find this endangered species and save it a bit. And spoilers, eventually when you get to the end of the quest, any kind of resolving of this issue you do, it's just down to some simple gestures you follow during a cutscene. Not like, again, you don't comfort an animal or anything like that. You do feed an animal at one point, but that's just, you know, putting fruit in an animal's mouth. So I would love to see another episode of this that took some of the ideas it was really hinting at here and really doubled down to really make you feel like you were in this forest and interacting with this wildlife and making cool connections the way you only can in VR. That's just not in this episode. And even though Rotu is doing really championable things with, giving some of its proceeds to charity and stuff. There is just not enough in the first episode of Ionia to really say I can recommend it, which I'm very sad about.
That was our Rotu review, now available on Quest, PCVR and PSVR. Head over to UploadVR.com for the full written review, and join us every Thursday for the VR Gamescast.